Good morning. 22 of the month. 22, of course, is the number of letters in the alphabet. It's a shlemus. Somehow today is a shlemus. And let's hope that all whom we are about to mention should have a refuah shlema, a complete healing. Who?
Yehudis Golda Bas Elisa Hana, Haim Yaakov Zev ben Sarah, Yosef Yitzhak ben Leor, Shoshana Bas Hana, Gary Roberts, son of George, Yaakov Shalom ben Hana Miriam, Yehudi Gila Bas Rachaleah.
Refuah shlema v'korah.
Thank you, Amen.
Tuvia ben Avram, Yair ben Adela, Yisrael ben Yamin ben Leah Gittel, Boralea bas Rus Ahuva Liba, Rivka Mina bas Chaya Esther. Okay. Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom, 22 Teves. My father, that's the Rabbi Rashab, proclaimed at a Farbringen, just as wearing tefillin every day is a mitzvah commanded by the Torah to every individual, regardless of his standing in Torah, whether deeply learned or simple, so too is it an absolute duty for every person to spend a half hour every day thinking about the Torah education of children. I'm just going to add editorially, and we're all called children of Hashem. So think about our own chinuch as we learn how to become better children of Hashem. But of course, the plain meaning is every parent should think about their kids and to do everything in his power, in one's power, and beyond one's power, to inspire children to follow the path along which they are being guided. Chanuch lenar al pidakon, right? Guide the child.
It's interesting. It doesn't say his children, it just says children in general. I wonder if the translation translates it like that or the original says it.
I can look. It's die Kinder. Just says the children. That's all it says. Die Kinder. Yep. So, great. It expands to all children, including ourselves. Lessons in Tanya. Bottom of page 209. If this is what you have. And again, if following along is a distraction, best to just listen and not get distracted. But if following along helps, great. Looks at the Amorim. Page Chof, opposite page 38, big letters. Ubezeh Yuvin. With this, we'll understand. What's the this? The this is, though there are two ends of the spectrum, Tzaddik and Russia, right? There's a middle ground, which is Beinoni, right? And in that middle ground, there's a lot of ability to extend either to the left side or to the right side. So the side of not righteousness to the side of righteousness, even to the side of tzaddik. So with that construct, Yuvin, can be understood, Kafaloshin HaShavua, the way that we remember that they give him a doubled Shavua. When the soul comes down, when the soul is about to come down, it gives him two things that you have to swear. Tehit Tzaddik, one, the Al Tehi Rasha, and don't be a Rasha. Which, the Lechera Tamua, at first this is a wonder. Since they've given you and your soul to take an oath that you should be a Tzaddik, why do you need to take another oath? Shelo yehi Rasha. Good question, right? Ella, however, Mishum, because she'ein kol adam zeicha liya tzaddik, because not every person merits to be a tzaddik. Ve'ein la adam mishpat habechira b'zeh kol kach, And there's not so much free choice about this. Remember, particularly, and I say remember because we did learn this, that particularly the tzaddik gomer, the complete tzaddik, that's a gift from Hashem, that the person can reach the level of kol ava b'tainugim, the level of delights. And not a person can just choose to reach these levels. This anag Hashem, there he uses the word tainug to remind us of, not everybody can choose to reach the level of ahava b'tainugim, the love of the highest level of delights, the emes in truth. Not everyone can choose to reach that in truth. Which is now describing, as we described earlier, the level of the tzaddik gomer, where the evil is mamish disgusting to this person. He hates it. He hates evil with a complete hatred, and he loves the good with a complete good, completely transformed. He's transformed the negative into positive, darkness into light. That's the tzaddik gomer. Since that is not possible by every human being to make the choice and have the ability to reach this level, so they give him another oath that at least al tehirasha al kol panim. Al kol panim is at least is at the end. At least, so they gave him an oath that not to be an evil person at least. Because this is something which is a matter of a person's free choice. And permission is given to each and every person, limshal beruat havasai, to dominate, rule over the spirit of raw, fleshly indulgence, ivas, shibalibai in his heart, belichvash yitzray, and everyone has the ability to conquer the yetzer, which draws one into the, quote, flesh pots, into the ultimate of negativity, the predominance and preoccupation with things that are only mundane, that's a nice word for it, but really just, things that are totally engaged in the lust and passions of the body. Russia, everybody has that capability to choose and to then, as a result of that choice, to learn and practice modalities of behavior, action, speech, and thought, which continue to enforce that choice to become someone who is not attached to the ground, into the dirt, to the affairs of the impulses of the Yetzer Hara. So everybody has that ability. Shalei to make the choice not to be a Rasha. Afilu sha'achas kol yomam, even one moment in one's whole days, from the time one, you're speaking again, we've had this word is brought up before, that one can be, and many people are naturally drawn to this, and it's to the negative, to the separation. That's the function of the animal soul, which is grounded in the ground, so to speak. But everyone over time can release that grasp or weaken that grasp and become a Beinoni, as we said yesterday. So, and from that moment on, there is no more dragging into that negative state that comes from the previous state of existence. So one can be a Beinoni, kol sha'ah, every moment, afilo sha'achas kol yimod, that he'll never be a Rasha even for one moment after that. Bein b'chinas su'meira, he won't be a Rasha either from the perspective lacking the ability to turn from evil, bein b'chinas v'hasei tov, nor will he be a Rasha in terms of not doing what he should or he or she should be doing. Ein tov el Torah, and of course the ultimate goodness is Torah. Ein tov el Torah. Remember earlier we said that there's one sin that the person is never free from, and that's bittul Torah. But if a person is practicing Beinoni, as soon as he or she notices that there's an opportunity here for Torah, and that's a mitzvah at hand, the Beinoni will make that choice and never be free and never be sucked into the avera of bittul Torah. And referring to Torah, which the Torah says about the Torah, as I'll say about the Torah, that the study of Torah equals all the mitzvahs. One of the simple reasons thereof, of course, is because Torah is where you learn how to do all the mitzvahs. But Torah itself, on a deeper level, comes from it's the mechanism which triggers all the mitzvahs, and so it's a deeper level. So therefore, Talmud Torah connected Kulam is equal to opposite, not because it's responsible for derivation of everything from there. Nevertheless, with everything we've just said, the Beinani, aspiring Beinani, or Beinani, has to fix times, Gamkein, Losis etis benavshoi, to seek advices in his own self. He has to look inside himself. Lies mois bera, because remember, the impulse to evil never reaches his thought or her thought, but the impulse is there, and it does rise up from his heart. Never gets caught and lodged that to think about it at all, and certainly not to think about satisfying it. So he has to take advice to himself in order to be moist, this despiser. He has to have tricks of thinking, quotes from Torah, meditations that have been in Tanya. You have to have what to mismoinin about. Words in davening and the inner meanings of davening, etc., etc., etc. You have to have what to think about. You have to have something to hold on to on the side of Kedusha in order to, in truth, be moispera, to find the evil despicable. Again, for example, B'yetzis Hachmenu Zal. Our sages have given advice to a man, and this is common in men, the natural lust that a man has for a woman. It says, Isha chomes molet soya. Think of the woman, meaning the flesh, just the flesh, as a vessel for things which are going to rot in the ground. And things like this. He goes on and gives some examples. All the delicious things, the little treats that one has, that one eats, all those little things, nasim kachamas molid, they're all going to be rotting in the ground. If you put them in the ground, they will rot in the ground because they don't have any visible spiritual life. They have, of course, spiritual life because everything has to have godliness in it in order to exist. But its destiny is that it's going to be, well, even if you just suck it in your mouth, it's just going to go away. And it gives you, and if it's a piece of candy, I'm sure you all had this experience, a little sugar rush. But you can't hang on and live with a sugar rush. Similarly, all the delights of this world, he's the wise person, sees the end result. That the end of them all is going to be to rot and become worms and a dung heap. And of course, the Beinani realizing that, any of us thinking about that, was why am I making those choices? Right? Let me make better choices. And the opposite choices. Let my delight come from the delight which is eternal, from that which lasts forever and grows forever, which is the delight and the joy in Hashem. By contemplating, Bina, Lashon Bina here, the greatness of the infinite one, blessed be He, according to one's ability to do this. Even though you know you're not going to reach this level in 100% true. In other words, it's not incumbent upon any one of us, as we've said many times, to become a tzaddik gomer. That's a gift, right? So even though I'm not going to ultimately, naturally anyway, I'm not going to ultimately realize that state of 100% envelopment in Kedusha, nevertheless, to the extent that I do that and cultivate that, I'm, number one, developing a relationship which brings a holistic and all other adjectives you could imagine to my quality of life. And in addition to that, I'm drawing godliness into the world So this is a very positive profession, a positive activity, a positive way of being, even though you may not reach the perfect of the perfect. It could you can imagine the perfect of the perfect, but you may not be there. Nevertheless, you do everything that you can, the kayem es hashavua, to fulfill the oath that was given to you, shemazbia, that it was given to you an oath that tehi tzaddik, that you should be a tzaddik. Hashem ya'asa hatei ba'enov, and Hashem, if you have that desire and you cultivate that desire with developing holy habits of thinking and holy habits of thought, speech, and action, Hashem will do what's good in His own eyes. In other words, Hashem Ezrei. Hashem is a helper to you. And in addition to that, you have developed sort of a muscle here. You've been working hard at it, and now you've developed a power. You become accustomed to this, and what you become accustomed to becomes dominant. It becomes your second nature. And as a person becomes accustomed to despise evil, it will in truth be at least partially that way, that you will find evil disgusting. And just the opposite, of course, the more you accustom yourself to find ways of rejoicing in the mitzvahs and the connections with Hashem, by contemplating the greatness of Hashem. So, is what I alluded to before. That arousal from below down here, that I want to get close to you, elicits a turn of God who wants to get close to us. The face you show to the water is the face you get back. So the arousal from below, this is, of course, a huge principle, which will come over and over again. The arousal from below affects an arousal from above. And ulai, it could happen, perhaps, ya'ara olav ruach memora. It can come over you, a spirit from a very high level, and you could merit to come and enter into the level of the spirit and at the root of a particular tzaddik, which becomes literally impregnated within you. This is corresponding to like transmigration of the souls. It could happen that out of pure desire to be tzaddik, at least tzaddik, and with and turn away completely from the impulse to evil, that with that could affect an arousal from above, that Hashem could implant within you a soul of a particular tzaddik, and as a result of which you can serve Hashem with a really 100% pure joy. As is written, Simchu tzaddikim b'Hashem. The tzaddikim, their whole joy is in Hashem. And it could be that there could be fulfilled in the truthful way Hashavua, the oath which you took above, Shemazbiyim Tehit Tzaddik. So from Tehit Tzaddik, at the beginning of the chapter, be a tzaddik and not a rasha. In other words, be a Beinani. But becoming a Beinani and that drive to continual, constant connection with Hashem could result in a gift of impregnation of a soul of a tzaddik, and you will fulfill the notion of being a tzaddik. You never know. That's today's Tanya.
Rabbi, you say Benoni, but it seems very difficult to become a Benoni.
No one said it was easy. It's
Seems like that's a modern day tzaddik would be a Benoni.
What's that?
A modern day tzaddik, meaning like we can't become a tzaddik, but even to become a Benoni is something that you really have to like be in control of your mind at all times.
But that itself, to be in control of your mind at all times, is something that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of habit. It takes a lot of muscle building. Yes, becoming a Benini is work. And
everyday work, all day.
Every moment, all day. Whenever you notice. Whenever you notice that something's occurring here, that's not al pi Torah, you turn away from it, right? To the point where you habituate yourself in this. It's building a poor example, but like a calisthenic, building up a muscle. If you drop the training for a week, your muscle will become flab again. You have to continue, stay at it. I would guess that a number of people on this call are involved in some kinds of disciplines, including the discipline of making kaviyas itim Torah, of course. That's a discipline. Why is it so important? Because it's like building a muscle. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes will, and all of those things are required to become a Beinoni. Sure, if you don't want to become a Beinoni, you'll be a Russia. Now, we had this conversation, not such a bad thing, meaning as long as you're not a Russia Gomorrah and dedicated to being an evil person, but there's a nature, as we spoke about this nature, there's a nature that draws one to fleshly things, to a piece of candy which dissolves in your mouth, okay? That's not a Beinoni if he's eating only for that, but neither is it an iniquity, right? That someone should say, oh my gosh, I'm worthless. On the contrary, you always have the ability, to choose life. But it's a choice. Yeah. Pesherivka.
Yeah, to balance that out, we have to remember that the Rebbe says, every person has the ability, and it's an inborn ability. It's by nature, that moach shat al halev, that's part of how we are created.
Yep.
So it's up to us to use our powers.
To become what we are. It's up to us to become what we're capable of being, which we have been gifted with the ability to become. Yes.
Well, it's part of our nature, just like the Nefesh HaBahamis is part of our nature. The Nefesh HaKis is part of our nature. You have to.
Yep. Rosa.
It's very beautiful what we just said at the end. That you make an effort, and then to serve Hashem b'simcha amitis, with authentic happiness, and Hashem, it says ulai, perhaps Hashem will give you a great elevation. But also it says the principle that an arousal from below brings a corresponding arousal above. I don't know, this is very important. Tanya doesn't work if you don't always feel Hashem is by your side. That's what the learning of Tanya comes to.
I hear you. I would just say a little different. For what Tanya is designed to do, to work, is to give you the ability to, what you're saying, to serve Hashem b'simcha b'tuv levov. It's a book that helps you to get to levels where, and behaviors that enable you to touch and feel the joy of serving Hashem. And that arouses, as you said, and he said correctly, when it's like a father-son, parent-child relationship. When the child does something that gives the parent pleasure, the parent responds with a big smile and a hug. And so, doing the avoida, which sometimes people avoid as work, but it is, which, as Pesha Rivka said, is natural and inborn to us, the ability to do that work, brings us to, number one, a place where we do have misamech b'Hashem, and arouses Hashem to have simcha and love for us. Yeah. Who's next? Elisheva.
Did they not school on Monday?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Finally. Yeah, so we was after. I wanted to share, I'm part of a Geula group, and the Rebbe had said, like,
We're all
Pesharistic.
part of a Geula group.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
The Rebbe
But,
said that, like Pesharivka mentioned, that we're all tzaddikim in this generation. And so how does that align with what we just learned? And somebody...
well, it's simple, I think. We're not all tzaddikim gemurim, according to Tanya, but kulam tzaddikim, we all have that within us, and therefore we can go, and if possible, we may reach a level of tzaddik gemur. But to be honest with, I'll take you out of the picture, just for the moment, because you are a tzaddik gomer, I guess. A lot of us, including me, are not. But that doesn't contradict Amakulim Tzaddikim, because it's there for the taking and for the gifting.
It's about the avoda of the tzaddikim. It's the avoda of becoming tzaddikim.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rebbe said a complete tzaddik, like if you could see it in the video, he said a tzaddik like the b'mla muvana milah, like exactly as you understand the forms. In other words, no, we're not kidding around. So anyway, I'm just gonna share what Bracha wrote, and then if it resonates, fine. I honestly I don't completely understand it, so maybe you will. So she answers, great question. The way I understand.
Well, wait, what's the question?
The question is, how does being a tzaddik, the Rebbe said, we're doing the avodah of tzaddikim. Like our generation, we're doing the avodah of tzaddikim, and we're going towards becoming tzaddik. How does the Rebbe put it? The Rebbe's exact words were, I can't remember his exact words, but he said like exactly like a tzaddik, the way we understand.
I have to understand what he means by we're doing the avoid of tzaddikim, but we can leave that. Go ahead. We're doing the avoid of tzaddikim.
So the avodah of benonim, so the avodah of tzaddikim is for miyachad yichudim, is to make peace between masculine and feminine. That's what I understand.
Well, between above and below, masculine and feminine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so great. So she answers, great question. The way I understand this topic is as follows: because as we know, I'll read it slowly because I don't really understand. Because as we know, for the purpose of the galus service of becoming vessels to be able to reveal atmos on a level that even tzaddikim of the Galus generation can't achieve. The Rebbe Rashab, I believe, says this on one of his Maimarim. The Beinoni was required to suppress his body and heart. Yet the downside was that the suppression blocked him from accessing the Ahava B'Tanugim, and therefore the Beinoni could never relax in believing that he's totally quote-unquote done with a specific taiva that disconnects him from his essence. Versus, now in Geula service, through unifying with all aspects of ourselves and Hashem in the physicality of the world and being tuned in and present, Ava B'Tanugim is the goal. And in that state, we lose our taiva for anything that takes us out of oneness with Hashem. It's a no-brainer to us. And this is how we will be Geula Tzaddikim, higher level than Galus Tzaddikim, which is why the Malachim will be saying Kedusha to us in the days of Mashiach.
She's sounding like she's out of the state of having any taiva.
That's correct.
I don't know if
Which
she's
is very
already
difficult.
accomplished that. I don't know if she's already accomplished that, but what she's saying is we need to practice. You have to go down. Craig is here.
All right, listen, I think we'll have to just abandon this, only for the reason that on one foot, I can't really have anything. I don't know what that means by Geula Tzaddik and Galus Tzaddik. I don't know what that means. So let's put this aside. It was something to come back to. But I'll have to say I agree with you. I don't really get it. Okay, but we can come back to it. Sivia.
Hi. One thing about the forever struggle of the Beinoni, even if one becomes accustomed, like you say, you build a muscle, I think the bar is always moving. So that things that are difficult, you first become from, and you have to get used to this and that, and you say, okay, got that. Wait a minute, there's something else that I haven't worked on, and then, oops, got that. That's easy. You go on to the next. Oops, got that one. So you're never. So even though you're building the muscle, the Beinoni never gets. The Beinoni always has that bar because the Alter Rebbe says that even in permissible things. So we get past, okay, yeah, okay, I'm not going to go and rob the candy store, but wait a minute, what about maybe I didn't daven this morning, things.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think the calisthenic muscle still holds because there's always the heavier weight. I press,
Yeah, yeah,
press the hun. Yeah.
you become more accustomed to the fact that you are in that place, and you can use the tools, but there's always that bar, and it's going to move.
There is that bar, and the bar is going to move, and the Beinoni will rise to the occasion and keep moving the bar. But I hear what you're saying. It's an interesting, in other words, the way I'm hearing you, and I appreciate if anyone else could jump in, that can you ever reach the point where you're saying that you don't have a thought that's not attracted by the other side? I mean, because the other side gets more and more refined, but is it always Kedusha? If that muscle that you're putting forth were the pertaining, then Beinoni would always just be a little bit out of reach, right?
But isn't that the definition of a Beinoni?
No, a Beinoni is he never, or she, never has even a thought that's opposite Kedusha.
But if that's so, then because doesn't it say someplace that the Beinoni will always have that inner struggle?
The battle, yeah, because the impulse will rise. The heart will always say, and there your muscle is very good. I mean, your story is very good. The things that rise from the heart will become more and more refined over time. The bar is being raised, and the taiva that I once had, will not be the taiva that I have now. My taiva now will be more refined. But even that more refined power, and all along the way, I've never allowed that power from the side of the klippa to ever lodge in my thought. That's the Beinoni.
Right. So that's lodging in the thought. So
that's the Beinoni.
So the Beinoni overcomes it, but it doesn't mean that there isn't always some challenge that.
On the contrary, you're right. The Beinoni always has a challenge because the bar keeps moving. Correct. The Beinoni is always challenged with new challenges, maybe more subtle, refined challenges, but always. Yes.
I spoke about this with other people also, that when you become from, and then people look at you from the outside and they say, "Oh, wasn't it so hard to keep kosher? Wasn't it so hard to start wearing a skirt instead of jeans?" No, that wasn't hard. That was easy. On to the next. That was the really becoming what those things signify is a lot harder than just changing a few behaviors.
Right. And for everybody, it's all different, Some people, I remember putting on a yarmulke, huge.
Yeah, right, okay. Growing a beard or whatever.
Yeah. So it's different for everybody, and you're absolutely right. The struggle continues. That's the definition of the Beinoni. He's always involved in the war. And the characteristic of the war changes, but he or she is always involved. Rosa, back again.
Thank you. One point that was very encouraging for me, it could be it's somewhere in Chassidus as well, but I know that the Or HaChaim in Parshas Vayechi says, when you had a good day, that day is eternal already.
Well, yeah.
And it's compared to polishing a diamond for Hashem. You polish that diamond and he has it in his treasure, and it's eternal already.
It's beautiful.
The other thing is that learning about the Beinoni is encouraging because, let's be real. I mean, for me at least, I could have a good day. I could have a good day once a week, but I'm not to. Then comes something that, like this last person shared, then comes something that I was not my best self. So if I wouldn't understand the lessons that Tanya is giving us, I would think, oh, forget it. I'm hopeless. Here I was. I thought I had already reached a certain level, and here I fell again. How could this be? But if you learn Tanya, you know that it's a struggle, and this is a battle, and there are ups and downs, and you just kind of realize that, when you're 6 or 7 or 8 years old, so you think that life is black and white. It's a struggle. It's not that you could. And even the last, I don't know who said this. I think it was Elisheva that in this door we're tzaddikim. It does not mean that we do not have a constant striving, but we have to also keep in mind what it says in Tanya in the other place, that kiyamod limin evyon lahoshia mishofte nafsho, that Hashem is on our side, and when we have an impulse, that is just one opinion. And then there is the right opinion, and then there is Hashem on the side of the right opinion. And that's what I meant when I said that, Tanya helps make your daily life work.
Hashem Oizrei. Hashem is always there to help. Okay, beautiful. We're still in the middle as always. That's the best place to be, because there's always more to go. We'll see you tomorrow. Your Mitzvah Hashem, to be continued.